Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is May 8th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see the Pacific Northwest to the right of the screen, and we got this next trough digging out across the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean. This will be our next weather maker here as we head towards the end of the weekend and on in through the early portion of next week. A fairly deep trough will be moving towards the coast of North America here. So we'll dive into those details. We'll take a little bit of a look at what went on yesterday as always as well, and the extended forecast as always also as we go through the video here today. This is the visible satellite imagery, so you can kind of see as I scroll back and forth the sun rising across the region. Looks like we have some wave cloud action here across some of the Cascades going on this morning. There is some sun breaks out there to be had. There's still a few residual showers out there as well. Had around of thunderstorms out there across southwest BC. Now that was into Washington State, and there were some gusty winds yesterday afternoon. You might have noticed some of that as well, and you can see where the lightning activity happened across southwest BC, some of the interior also. And that might be a reoccurring theme here as we go through the end of the weekend and on in through the early portion of next week. More on that here in a moment. Looking at Seattle yesterday, 11-degree drop, 66, 77 the previous day. Still only a trace of rainfall here for the month of May so far. And you can see that 32-mile-per-hour gust there at SeaTac Airport. Portland at 31 miles per hour, still 75 yesterday, but a 10-degree drop from May 6th. And if we look at the wider Doppler radar breakdown here, and you can see individual stations, just a few showers still out there, some residual precipitation. There's even a little bit of light snow falling at Stampede Pass, 31 degrees currently. And if we take a look at Whidbey Island, though, you can see some of those gusts were getting up, over 34 knots or so, about 40 miles per hour out of the west there. So, yeah, some pretty gusty winds out there yesterday during the day. That would be with the westerly variety there. And if you want to help support the channel, probably the Patreon page is the way to do so. Of course, you can do so on the YouTube page by clicking on the join button down below. But yeah, send me your weather images here as well. There's a community tab, and you can go ahead and do so. Probably the best way to send me media. Taking a look at this. This is something the National Weather Service has been putting out as we go on into fire season here. You can do some of these things here. You can pause it and look at it. Or I think Medford has this one on today, and you can check that out if you want. Lots of good ways to kind of keep your house fire safe. Little things can make a big difference. Now, the 5-day weather outlook, you can see National Weather Service Spokane talking about Sunday and Monday. Look at the showers and T-storms, thunderstorms here as we go on in towards the weekend and on into the early portion of next week. Pattern change with the trough incoming here. Some fun weather for some of the area. And this is for western Montana here, Missoula, Montana. Some gusty winds here, some erratic showers some erratic winds near the afternoon showers. And also National Weather Service Missoula, you don't have to be out in this region to click on that. You can register here and join our weather spotter team, but it helps if you live in some of these areas here. But yeah, virtual training you can see on June 3rd. So go ahead and scan that with your smartphone if you want. Now looking at the European model here, so if I've put this into motion, you can kind of see about a little bit of a ridge here for today and tomorrow. We're going to warm up a little bit more tomorrow, but then the next trough starts to roll through here, and you can see heights start to fall, and we start to bring this low towards the coast of North America. And where this sets up is going to have a big time difference here, depending on who gets what kind of weather out of this system here. Chilly upper level low, some higher elevation snowfall, some thunderstorms, some precipitation, and some gusty conditions for some areas are possibilities. And then as we scroll on in towards next week, you can kind of see how that low is moving out, and then there's still maybe another lobe trying to drop down in the extended forecast. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. We look at the composite reflectivity as of last night on the North American model. You can kind of see it still had some residual showers through this morning, but here we are right about now. It's about 7 a.m. or so. And you can see the showers are largely wrapping up here across the area. However, as we go through tonight, you can kind of see across Bozeman out there and maybe Yellowstone, you might get a thunderstorm or two out of that activity here as this system continues to move off. But then the next trough starts to show up, and you can see as we start to scroll off into Friday night into Saturday, some precipitation starts to make its way back in on Saturday morning to some of the areas. This trough carves out and moves towards the west coast of North America. So if we look at the European, this brings us out a little bit further. Again, wrapping up the showers today, but as we go on in through the day Saturday, precipitation precipitation starts to return for western BC. Not much for Seattle or Portland on the day Saturday, but by the time you get towards Sunday, maybe afternoon hours, late afternoon, evening, you can see the low pressure system moving towards the Oregon coast. And this could potentially be spreading thunderstorms east of the mountains, at least initially. And then as the low gets to the south, could destabilize across the area. And we could be bringing some thunderstorms elsewhere, maybe even west of the Cascades. As you can see, there's some rainfall all the way from California up into British Columbia there by the time we go towards Monday night. So what's going on at the upper levels of the atmosphere? What we're looking at here is just raw temperature forecast on the European model, about 18,000 feet. And you'll see the trough approach here as these cooler temperatures aloft start to swing in. You can see the initial stages of this trough here, and then it carves out and digs down the coastline there. Look at that, this big pink bowling ball here, this polar vortex or whatever you want to call it. They're rolling across the region as we go on in towards, let's see, that sets up right about there. That's about on the day Monday. And then we go on into Tuesday mornings. That continues to push across the Intermountain West by that time. Now, if we look at lightning flash density potential, this is for today. And again, you can see some of that thunderstorm potential. The European destabilizes things a bit out, mainly east there, maybe northeast or eastern Idaho, let's call it, and portions of Yellowstone and portions of southwest Montana. But as we go on into Friday, that activity should be pushing off across the Rocky Mountains there, Colorado, and then we go on in towards Saturday. And as that trough comes here, we're going to get some of this defluence aloft and introduce a thunderstorm threat, maybe eastern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. Then as we go on in through Sunday, you see some of this for the Blue Mountains there. We start to destabilize things a little bit here, west of the Cascades maybe even, and then on Monday you can see a little bit more here as that trough is really carved out across the area. Cooler air aloft, instability, thunderstorm potential. Now, looking at the European artificial intelligence, we put this into motion. Let's see what it has to say about this incoming trough. So there's that initial stages of it. It carves out quite nicely off our coastline, actually almost right over Oregon, Northern California there, and then that'll be swinging through. What happens after that? Well, we get a bit of a ridge as we go through the mid portion of next week, but you can see the troughing there across Western Canada, never too far off it seems, and then that swings through, and you can see the ridge tries to build in, but that troughing is pretty persistent across Western Canada. Then we go off into the extended, maybe another ridge there, who knows. Well, we're looking out quite a ways off into the forecast, but just kind of showing you here that we're going to have this back and forth off and on troughy weather here, some rain potential here as we go on in through the month of May, kind of typical stuff. Now, if we take a look at the national blend of models, this is daily 2-meter maximum temperature. This is for today, Thursday, May 8th. You can see Seattle, some mid-60s showing up there, maybe up towards 70 for Portland, and a bit warmer there, eastern Oregon. Look down towards Boise, getting up towards 80 degrees. There goes Friday. We warm back up a bit here across the region. Look at Boise, 89, Seattle, 70, Portland, maybe upper 70s here, some mid-80s for the Columbia Basin and eastern Oregon. Also some hot spots out there across southeast Oregon. You can also see the terrain features up into British Columbia. Of course, we see the warmer temperatures. Those are the valley locations, some mid-70s even showing up there as well. Then we go through Saturday. You can see the initial stages of the cool down from that frontal system there visiting southwest BC and western Washington. We start to swing that trough through, and we're bringing more clouds across the region. Look at Sunday, not warming up nearly as much eastern portions. And look at that on Monday. That low will be right over the area, and you can see it suppressing temperatures, widespread here across the Pacific Northwest. Tuesday, something similar. Then we go Wednesday, Thursday, maybe another ridge building in, but the national blend of models not showing us warm up too much just that yet, but we'll continue to watch that on a daily basis. This is the artificial intelligence 15-day precipitation anomaly. There's the Pacific Northwest. Kind of backed off a little bit on the precipitation amount. So we got kind of this below normal signal here for much of the Pacific Northwest, except some of the Idaho Panhandle, Northeast Washington, and portions of British Columbia. And this is the 6 to 10. You can see the below normal there, still showing that trough or something troughing here across the West Coast in the extended forecast. And there's the 6 to 10 day, kind of at odds with what the European artificial intelligence is showing. But we'll be breaking that down day by day, so no need to get caught up in those details too much. But anyway, back to work here for one day. Hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.